Ask the Mayor, your chance to ask the Mayor of Weymouth, Bob Hedlund, questions about the town of Weymouth and or anything else that you have concerns about. Ask the Mayor is pre-recorded. And now, here's Bob Hedlund.
And we're back. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Mayor. I'm your host, Jim Melody, citizen advocate, as I've been recently described. And I'm happy to introduce my co-partner on the show, Mayor Robert Hedlund. How are you this afternoon, Mayor?
Thanks for taking the helm here, Jim, and look forward to some great questions from our residents once again.
I would have to say the popularity of our show continues to astound me. Going through drive-thrus or walking down the road, we're having all kinds of folks come up and say they're enjoying the presentation and the information you offer.
I actually looked at some data from Nielsen. Well, you know about Nielsen. Were you in TV sales?
In fact, I was for many moons.
In New York or here?
Both in Manhattan and in the big city.
So tell the folks what Nielsen is.
Well, Nielsen is an arbitrary accounting firm that measures television audiences. So all the television stations hire them to measure and monitor their viewership levels. It's presented in the form of a rating, and the rating is basically a percentage of the population.
Well, I just got some data from Nielsen that indicates that Ask the Mayor, the last episode, was the highest rated show in the history of WETC.
That's very exciting to hear. Wow, yeah. I had no idea.
Yep, great.
So onward and upward. Who knows?
I got one little note for the viewers. I heard some comments the last show as to how I was positioned, and that instead of like completely facing the camera, I was kind of angled to you as I am today.
Okay.
And I think some folks know that I've suffered a little bit of an injury, and it's due to the fact that I can't bend my leg, and it's propped up. So that's why we have this angle thing going on here. No disrespect meant to the viewers, and not that I want to just kind of focus on Jim the whole time. It's just that I'm suffering from this injury and have to keep my legs straight and propped up. So that's the explanation. People are wondering why there's like a chair next to you.
It's being occupied, I can tell you firsthand, as from my viewpoint. It's crystal clear that we are sustaining and maintaining through the injury. So give us a quick update on that, by the way, Mayor, because most folks are used to seeing you now over the last couple of weeks, either in your John Deere riding around town or in appearances where we see your photos in the paper, usually dressed casually and in shorts as a result of your injury.
I haven't really been able to wear pants yet with this cumbersome brace, but long pants. And yet it's not my John Deere, it's the town's John Deere Gator that the park department suggested that I could use it to get up and down Academy Ave and other points around town. It's the only thing I can really operate under the circumstances, but as of the time of this taping, it's been about 7 weeks. So I'm hoping, given the severity of the injury, 7 weeks isn't a long time. They initially told me 6 months full recovery after PT and that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping at some point I'll be off the crutches. I know the brace is going to be my friend, or my nemesis, more like, for some time. But we're getting along. It's good. It's good. I think I only missed, after the initial injury, only a couple of days of work. I was out for 2 days, I think, actually maybe 1 day. But it's certainly less painful now, but just moving a little bit slower.
It's always looked very painful, and you've managed it incredibly well. I can't believe you were back on the job after 2 days. Very impressive. And not only are the Nielsen ratings up, from what we understand, sales of those John Deere Gators are going through the roof as well.
It does bring a lot of attention, and it's funny because after the Patriot Ledger publicized the use of it, which was fine, it was a good article. I've seen comments on social media where people have spotted me and post, I saw him on Pleasant Street today. He went through the birches last night. It was actually one of those. So that's fine.
Well, Tracking Hedlund may be the next show that we put on WETC to rival Ask the Mayor.
Let's just say with that thing, you don't need a GPS on it.
Easy to see, easy to find.
So before Mr. X criticizes us again, we better dive into these questions.
Yes. Well, listen, and once again, we thank all the viewers for sending in a series of interesting and informative questions, and we'll put you to the test. As usual, in fairness to all the viewers, you need to know the Mayor does not get a chance to see these questions before I pose them.
I peek at a couple here and there, when I have the chance before we tape, but I have to say, given the way the schedule has been, we're usually doing this show on the fly. But Mr. X said that we needed to prepare more, but sometimes the schedule doesn't allow us to really prepare for this show because we're doing other things here. So we get by as best we can.
more to follow, Mr. X. We're prepared for your comments. But we're going to lead off the show with a question from David Cayley, who introduces himself with a pleasant hello. Hello, Mayor. Hello, Jim. I'm a resident of Weymouth.
Hi, Mr. Cayley.
It frustrates me that the only ISP available is Comcast, ignoring the 3 Mbps Verizon DSL with speeds that haven't changed since 2007. The prices they charge are unreasonable and can be considered price gouging. Why is Verizon Fios not available in Weymouth? Based on information found on the internet, there's an exclusivity agreement between Comcast and Weymouth. Is this true? If so, how is this in the best interest of Weymouth residents? If not, what needs to be done to allow or entice Verizon to bring Fios to Weymouth, Mayor?
What was the part? I understand the question, but what was the line about DSL? What was that?
Apparently, Verizon has Comcast ignores a technique, this 3 Mbps Verizon DSL, with speeds that haven't changed since 2007. So I would presume he's suggesting that they're using a service that's basically obsolete at this point.
That went over my head. I'm not the most computer literate person.
Ditto.
Yeah, it's a troubling question a little bit because we hear this question so often. Both directly to the office here. We do have a letter which I'll send back to him that we've been sending out to constituents who call and write to us about that issue. But the short answer is, and we have staff here that have some knowledge probably greater than I, so feel free to give me hand signals, folks from WETC, who actually, WETC operates through funding that the contract with Comcast pays for. So they might have a more intimate knowledge of some of the things here than I do. But the short answer on this is that yes, Comcast has that contract with the town. The latest incarnation of that contract was signed, I want to say, within 2 months of me taking office. Mayor Kay did sign a new contract with Comcast, who had been the existing provider here. And that was a 10-year contract.
Ouch.
So that happened before I got here. The contract will be in place long after I leave here. And
theoretically.
Likely. And there's not a lot we can do about that, obviously. It's a contract.
But it's an exclusive arrangement. There's no opportunity for anybody else.
I've only been here 6 months, and one of the first things I did do is I've asked the legal to look to see what options it does allow us. And I know that on my schedule, I believe next week, some officials from Verizon are coming here to discuss the issue with us. In the past, in fact, I think we attached a letter that's attached to that.
That's an accurate statement.
From Verizon. If there's anything pertinent there, I haven't looked at it in the last recently, but I believe that provide some information. Is there anything there that's pertinent to this question? Bottom line is, we don't like the situation. We'd love to see competition. Verizon's not interested in making the capital investment that they need to make here to bring Fios here. But I think they mentioned something about that there. Why don't you, what's the date on that?
I'm gonna, it's actually, it dates all the way back to 2012, actually.
Right.
But as in sum, what it says
is... This is the official position that they have consistently taken about why they're not here. If you want to read it, that's great.
Yeah, I don't know if I have to read the whole thing, because essentially what it's saying is we appreciate the town's interest in deploying Verizon as a potential service provider, but they're not in the position right now to offer the service. They're trying to tighten up their services and the
reason is because where they have an exclusive, that's where they're putting their capital
Exactly.
investment.
Where they have existing contracts is where they're putting all their capital at this point. But they're very grateful for you reaching out, or the town reaching out, and Verizon appreciates your comments, and we look forward to working with your office perhaps at some time in the future. So
that future is next week.
Well,
so we'll see.
There you go. Okay.
And that's really, it's not a lot more you can say. I mean, we've got the existing contractor, provider, and they have 10 years on a contract now. Is there anything that I left out that's pertinent? I'm getting a no sign.
And then, again, this is a follow-up on an article that appeared in the Ledger in August of 2012, and the headline is, Verizon tunes out on Fios TV expansion, and some they're passing on the opportunity for right now. Right. And as you said, fast forward back to the future, as we like to say, next week you'll be meeting with them again, 4 years after this
I will say this, maybe with a new administration coming in, maybe it would have been appropriate to kind of leave that for us. We're the ones that have to live with the contract. Maybe the contract shouldn't have been signed before we came in, and that would have given us a chance because we're the ones that have to coexist with the provider and allow us to look at it and not. But it was signed, really pretty close before we were sworn in. So.
That's the lame duck presidency that we hear so often about.
Well, it doesn't rise to the level of Bill Clinton pardoning Mark Rich, but we would have liked to have had a chance to take a look at it.
Not to put you on the spot, but was there an assortment of contracts that were signed in the 11th hour, or was this one of the few that made it to her desk?
There were things that came up that Mayor Kay, said, listen, this is what's happening. We want to involve you. A good example of that was some free cash that was to go to the schools.
Excellent.
She involved us in that process and that decision. But there were a couple contracts that were signed. There was an extension to our ambulance provider, a 2-year extension. That was, I think, granted just right after the election or before the election. And the Comcast contract would probably be the two most notable.
Wow. And 10-year term, that's a nice contract to get?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the industry standard even is for that. But,
right.
But is that... 10 years is pretty standard in that business. So,
well, there you have it.
But hopefully Verizon, again, the bottom line is we are seeing what we can do to encourage competition, and if there's a chance to bring Verizon here to provide that competition, that's great.
Awesome.
We would seek that out.
Generally speaking, competition favors the consumer, so we'll see which way that ends up developing. On a completely separate note, Mayor from Jason Thayer, one of the solid citizens in the town of Weymouth, would like to know, I think the music band Rat is better than the Scorpions, although they are both creatures. What is your opinion on that matter? I don't know if I get what he means when he says, although they are both creatures. Scorpions and Rat?
They're animals, species, whatever.
What about the music that Rat puts out compared to your favorite, the Scorpions?
It's a ridiculous question. Without devoting time to this, the Rat was fine. Rat broke on the scene on the strength of a video they had, a song called Round and Round, because Milton Berle was in the video.
Oh, hey now.
And the band's manager was Milton Berle's nephew. So he grabbed Milton Berle, so that became kind of a famous video, and it kind of helped break them in the MTV era. You know? But there's no comparison. I mean, the Scorpions have been a worldwide act for decades, have outsold Rat probably on a 15 or 25 to 1 ratio. And just a completely, not a comparison. Rat was a little flash in the pan 80s hair band. And
one-hit wonder?
Not a one-hit wonder, but I know Mr. Thayer, and I know that he's a fan of that band. He likes to try to engage me when he sees me around town, but he's wrong on this one. There is no comparison. I mean, the Scorpions were the first Western band to ever play east of the Ural Mountains. Only band to ever have a top 10 simultaneously in 14 different countries around the world. The Beatles never did that.
Whoa, what was that song that made the top 10?
That was Wind of Change.
Interesting.
And many people think Wind of Change was a song about the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe, when in fact they wrote the song before the Berlin Wall came down. They had sensed from a trip to Russia that they had taken when they played the Moscow, was it the Moscow Peace Festival? Maybe I have it backwards. But anyway, they were allowed into Russia because they were a German band, not an American band. And they saw changes happening under Gorbachev, and they wrote that song foretelling these changes that they saw and were feeling. So there's no comparison. It's absurd. It's an absurd question, and I'm sure Mr. Thayer wrote it in the spirit of trying to get my goat and trying to upset Mr. X, who has criticized us for taking questions like this.
Well, and of course you have a direct relationship.
Scorpions have sold like 125 million albums. Okay, and Rat, I don't know what their album sales is, but it was probably what the Scorpions sell in a week.
Well, because Mr.
Not that sales alone determines quality, but
it's fair when you're trying to make an apples-to-apples comparison. Usually that's an indicator of popularity. So, Jason, round one for the Scorpions, I'd say. Listen, we've referenced Mr. X on more than one occasion. I had to fast forward to his letter.
Are you familiar with Rat?
I am. That song, Round and Round,
You're
sounds
a musician.
I'm locked into the 80s with my acoustic guitar. I'm more inclined to put on a James Taylor album than a Scorpions album, quite frankly, which is why you and I don't listen to the same music at the same time. However, that doesn't
James Taylor sat
us.
next to me at a concert once, and I was able to tell him what I thought of his music.
I remember you told me that story, and
Yep.
I think we didn't speak for a year after that. And I have to tell you, my interaction with James Taylor, I was walking through the Copley Square Mall one time. He was walking at me. I said, James Taylor. I put out my hand. Neither one of us skipped a beat. He shook my hand while he was walking, and neither one of us never missed a step.
Carly Simon's new book, he's painted in a very unfavorable light.
Yeah, hell hath no
Didn't sound
fury
like
a woman scorned.
Didn't sound like a good father and a good husband.
Uh-oh.
Next question.
We'll be having a James Taylor record burning party after the show. All right, well, we have to get to the infamous or famous Mr. X, as it turns out. And this one's addressed specifically to Mayor Hedlund. Dear Mayor Hedlund, after watching the May 27th edition, I was pleased that you and Mr. Melody took the time to review and respond to my recent email. I'll remain Mr. X as I wish to maintain my anonymity. I want to let you know that the May 27th episode was truly informative and reinforces my belief that you and your administration are acting supportively regarding the importance of residents participating in their local government and do indeed respond. It is something you deserve much credit for. Keep it up. Although my original email did contain criticism, it was not intended to be anything more than my comments and suggestions. It did contain positive points, which you did acknowledge, and I appreciate that. I was honored by your request to perhaps co-host an episode with you. I respectfully declined the offer.
We could provide him with like a voice changer and like
the cone of silence.
What can you do to change that? Maybe put like a mask over him or a bag with the eyes cut out or something?
I know Mary has suggested something like that for me.
How about a luchador's wrestling match? So, Mr. X, the offer still stands.
Well, and here we go. Let me point out some of the positive things I took away from the episode. Bringing back the mayor's monthly forum is a good idea, where you and others can focus on a specific issue.
We have done that. I'll answer these point by point. We have done that. Our first episode is up. We interview our new town solicitor, Joe Callanan. And we should next week or the week after, our new planning department director, Bob Longo, who replaced longtime planning director Jim Clark. He is on our second episode, and we're not talking about James Taylor, not talking about Rat. We stick to the issues, and we cram a lot of information in that half hour.
Well, here we go then. The segment on the business district parking lot, Columbian Square Stage 2 update, the new Chowder House business going in, and the previous...
Oh, and by the way, they opened up this week.
Oh, wonderful. And what's the name of that? Do we know?
The Cottage.
The Cottage. Wonderful. And the previous Hugs Plus vacant lot apartment proposal was very informative. I learned things I didn't know before I put great value in that. The Hugs Plus vacant lot, the one if you were coming off of Route 18 and instead of taking a left into South Shore Hospital, you would take a right going down towards Curtis Liquors. Or you could take the right at Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, what was the reference?
Well, he was saying he found that informative because we made some references to the development that's going on at Hugs Plus vacant lot.
Yes.
Yeah, any updates on that, by the way?
Nothing. We thought it was too dense of a proposal.
Excellent.
We suggested that they go meet with the residents of the neighborhood, which occurred, and we have not heard anything that I'm aware of since, and I get regular updates from the planning department, so that's quiet at the moment.
Remains a work in progress. The background you clearly defined on Calpine, the Weymouth Waterside Association, Spectra, and FERC guidelines was also very good. You might consider pointing residents to the following website, No Compressor Station.
Yes. Does it give the actual...
It does not. The URL, that address is not here, but he's a fan of all those updates that you were able to offer. Then finally, the beaches...
And there's another website is it a Facebook page or a website? Now, I know it's on Facebook. I'm not sure if they're a website too, but Families Against Spectra, FAS. You can find that. That's active too, and they share much of the same information.
Excellent. And then the beaches and boating segment was also very informative. Again, thank you for taking the time to read and respond. My input. Regards, Mr. X.
I wonder if Mr. X is really Dana Hersey.
I think he might be the guy from Speed Racer that crashed his car all the time. We don't know for sure, but I have to ask because he made the reference here. Any updates, any thoughts, comments on what's going on with Spectra relative to the big plant?
Comment period. Well, nothing major. The process continues. Comment period closed this week for comment to Secretary Beaton. A lot of information was disseminated through the Bob Hedlund Facebook page, the FAS, and the FRAX page on that, and people were using our letter as a template to comment to Secretary Beaton. We've gotten some response on the segmentation issue, and you know, the problem is all of this activity at the state level is good, but as we know, much of the control lies in the hands of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and that appointed 5-member board. So we're using every avenue we can. We're hoping that we get a favorable ruling from Secretary Beaton, and that might help us with FERC. That's kind of the short answer.
Any sort of timeline on when that other shoe is supposed to drop?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember specifically the timeline, but the comment period for, actually we get into this in detail, by the way, on the episode that probably running simultaneous to this maybe with Solicitor Callahan. We lay out some of that timeline stuff in that episode.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Obviously on a lot of folks' minds, so all the information you're offering is
And I'm sure
super.
For all the dates, go to either of those sites that we just mentioned, and it's all there.
Excellent. Thank you again, Mr. X. I think at some point perhaps we should find a Mrs. X for Mr. X and maybe would have more joy.
I like Mr. X's feedback. It's great.
A question about Stella Field. Hi, Mayor Hedlund. A question on the Stella Field hockey rink complex. With the addition of the Weymouth Street Hockey Rink League recently, it runs concurrently with Babe Ruth Baseball, especially on weekends. Parking is a serious issue, especially with the parking not allowed on one side of Central Street. What is the possibility of removing a strip of grass and curb in front of the skate ramps and adding 15 to 20 parking spaces there? Thanks. And that's from Jim Parker, who's a CBA in town and somewhat of a gadfly in town. Good man.
Yeah, former member of the school committee here in Weymouth. Congratulations to Jim. His son just had some notoriety this week.
Oh, fantastic.
Now I'm going to embarrass myself. I can't, baseball notoriety, but I can't remember what level he's playing.
He's a strong player, though, huh?
Yes.
Excellent.
He got an award as, I'm blanking out right now.
That's okay.
But
good player, huh?
It was on a character kind of thing. It wasn't like, I don't think it was being like the MVP.
Was he the freshman? I think he was a freshman on the high school baseball team. I think I saw that he got the good sportsman award or something along those lines.
Something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
So I guess he had a very good year. So congratulations to him. As far as I don't know the strip of grass I think I do know the strip of grass he's talking about. Now I was just down there for the Weymouth Youth Street Hockey League Championship games, and I got to see some of the games in action. I'd been down there once before to see the games, and I think it's a great program. Looking forward to having my son in it next spring.
Great.
And I did ask why they don't have a fall program, and it's run by volunteers. There are issues with time commitment and such. I didn't realize the schedule totally conflicted with youth baseball down there, but my short answer to Mr. Parker, and he's not going to like this, is I'm not really keen on the concept, not knowing where the grass is off the top of my head. I think I know where he's talking, but after just paving over the parking lot in Columbian Square and making the upgrades there, I'm not too keen on ripping up grass. I'd like to see more grass in town.
It's hard to come by on those fields.
Now, the fact is that the planning department a year ago, before I arrived, was able to work out a deal with Mr. DeLuca in the Camelot Apartments, where he provided the town an easement, and we have a nice walking path. And granted, it's not the shortest route to the hockey arena down there, the hockey facility, but it's a nice, convenient cut-through now, paved, aesthetically pleasing, from the parking lot into Stella. So my response would try to encourage people to use this new amenity, this new parking lot, and the new walkway, and take an extra few steps to the field, So that would be the short answer. I'd like to see how the new parking lot works out before we're going to pave over more grass across the street.
I think that's smart too. That was my knee-jerk reaction because that lot is glorious now, and that stroll is in 5 minutes. I actually did it not so long ago because I encountered the same type of thing that he's referring to. It's a beautiful stroll. It's a nice park, and like as we know, anybody who's got a parent, or anybody who is a parent with children in the sporting systems, finding grass in Weymouth is hard to come by. So we'd like to preserve what you can.
This reminds me of an incident when I was in business before I was elected. I had a landlord where my business was located, and there was this old, dead, decrepit tree that part of the branches were blocking my sign, the business sign. So one of my guys did tree work on the side. I said, listen, one of these days bring your chainsaw and let's cut that dead tree down. So of course the day we're cutting it down, the landlord showed up. And he went berserk because we didn't ask permission or whatever. But he went completely bonkers on the scene, just jumping up and down, screaming and yelling. And wouldn't you know, it was like a day or two after Earth Day, which I hadn't realized. And I just remember him screaming at me, "You've got asphalt, you have concrete, you have glass. Leave a little green." I can remember him saying, screaming, "Leave a little green," even though it was really brown. But so Jim, leave a little green.
And I could use the extra step, so thanks for the tip. We're getting to the back end of another episode of Ask the Mayor, and traditionally this is where I would salute a citizen of the week for some of their achievements in the past. But in this case, if I could maintain the floor, Mayor, I would like to salute the citizens of the week. And by that I mean, of course, we're coming off of the heels of Wayfest, our inaugural Wayfest. We had a major community building day down in Southfield on June 18. And as the mayor knows, there was over 200 citizens in this town who extended themselves in some form or fashion, all of them overextended, quite frankly, to do something incredibly nice, to put together a community building event for our town. For those who attended, it was a tremendous day full of good cheer and community building. The town pride went through the roof when an assortment of major personalities ended up coming back at no charge to the town. From Charlie Coyle, who's in the NHL right now, to Jerry Thornton on WEEI, Senator Patrick O'Connell, of course, who took your space, Tim Sweeney and Jonathan Edwards, two of our Olympians, and 200 other citizens who went way above and beyond the call of duty to make this day an amazing success. And to all those folks, and to everybody who attended, heartfelt thanks. I know I speak for the mayor when I offer that out. The attendance was fantastic, and we're grateful for everybody's good nature that they brought to that event.
Now I got a quick question off camera for our guys. You guys were filming, right? So when will we have some video up? Any idea? Okay, they're going to do a little promotional stuff.
Excellent.
But you also had another crew.
We did have a private
filming,
crew.
And you'll have some.
We'll have packages. We'll have video footage. We posted on www.wayfestweymouth.com.
Is it up already?
There's been a variety of adjustments. Still photos are up, and a thank you to our sponsors and to our attendees. It's an evolution, and there's some changes that have been made, and you can look forward to seeing
So the bottom line is WTC viewers that were there will be able to see some of the stuff that went on again.
Exactly.
And folks who weren't there will be able to see what they missed. So
exactly
that will
right.
be. And you are agreeing to run the video he provides.
So. Well, why wouldn't you? But on that note, as we salute the four Weymouth ETC employees that are with us right now, they were kind enough to put together a promo spot to promote our event in advance. Mr. Cummings was on the job, I know. He did a fantastic job. And I know the mayor called me when the first time I saw it.
What great guys our two Olympians are, though.
Yeah,
two down-to-earth guys.
Oh, my gosh. Tim Sweeney, who was Olympic hockey in 1990, and then Jonathan Edwards, Olympic loser in 94.
At one point I called Jonathan Edwards Jonathan Richmond. I called him. Jonathan Edwards is a musician. Jonathan Richmond's a musician.
Yeah, it's easy
I
to get
crossed it up.
confused.
But Jonathan Edwards, what a great guy. And he lives in Calgary, Alberta, Canada,
Came
right?
all the way back for our event.
He told me that he's thinking of moving home, and they're going to be looking at property in Weymouth.
Life is way better in Weymouth, according to our title sponsor, South Shore Bank, who
Than Calgary?
created some great. South Shore Bank had some great in-brand sponsorship components, and among them, they created this tagline: "Life is way better in Weymouth." So, thanks to your tenure and the great job our friends at WETC do, there's so many positives, which is really what that event was all about. It's easy to reflect on the negatives sometimes, but that event was all about focusing on what's good about this town.
Town staff did great. You and your committee did a phenomenal job, and everyone
who
who participated, and I think everyone that was there had a great time.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, again, and especially the town support departments, police, fire, school department. Where do I go? Weymouth Rec, the mayor's office, so on and so forth, DPW, everybody was just above and beyond the call of duty. And as importantly, the attitude they brought to that event was amazing. So thanks to all.
Great.
And as we look to conclude another edition of Ask the Mayor, stay tuned for Flipper. Coming on next.
Wow, you dug deep for that one.
If you have a question, please email the mayor at askmayorbob@gmail.com. That's askmayorbob@gmail.com. Maybe your question will be answered on the next episode of Ask the Mayor.